Welcome back to Season 1, Episode 2 of Everything Sports with Aman. I'm your host, Aman Carney, and today going to be talking about the state of the NFL and college football as well, because with SMU football on like a resurgence since the in 1980s, going to talk about them, going to talk about the rest of college football too towards the end of the episode. If you didn't watch the last episode, make sure to watch it because I announced like I plan to have a sports business series. I plan to interview SMU football players, basketball players, and so there's going to be athletes coming on soon. So be on the lookout for that. A lot of great things coming to the podcast. So make sure to watch the last episode to get all that information. And then obviously sports content daily everywhere, and then podcasts either once or twice every weekend exclusively on Spotify and Apple or wherever you get your podcast because we're on most platforms. But without further ado, let's get into the NFL, man. Honestly, what I want to talk about is how it's like two different worlds in the NFL. On one hand, Lions Texans 23-6 first half, you're like Jared Goff, even with the win, I don't think you could say he's MVP. I understand players have bad games and everything, but he threw for 5 picks. He had 4 the entire season leading up to that game against the Texans. And of course, the Texans have a great defense, but 5 picks is 5 picks. You can't deny that. And then you see CJ Stroud, everyone trashing on him saying 1 year wonder. Must forget that sophomore slump is a thing. I'll never call a quarterback bad unless he has like maybe a few seasons in a row where he struggles. But it's a sophomore slump. He'll get over it. He'll learn from it. Peyton Manning threw a lot of interceptions his rookie year, and then he learned from it. So these young quarterbacks still learn from it. I'm sure. I mean, Anthony Richardson has a lot of promise. He can rush. He just got to work on that passing, man. And I'm sure he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the league at some point. And so that's just my opinion on those young quarterbacks. But CJ Stroud threw 2 picks. There was 7 interceptions combined. It's the most since 2018, I'm pretty sure. And I believe I'm not sure what the record was, but sure seemed it was gonna be that way. But then the Lions caught up because the Texans weren't able to capitalize because of their stagnant offense. And you saw last year, like Tank Dell, Nico Collins, they were moving. Obviously, Nico Collins is injured, but you saw them just high flyers. Even Noah Brown, who's on the Commanders now, I believe, he caught the Hail Mary. But you see all this happening, and you're like, wow, what happened? And of course, the Stephon Diggs injury is devastating, but when you still have like weapons, you still have Joe Mixon. And something I'm not wondering is or something I'm wondering is why there's not enough plays called for Joe Mixon. I understand Stroud throws the ball well, rushes well, but Mixon, he's proven he can handle the workload. He can rush well, and obviously the Lions have an insane rush defense, but there should still be more plays called to him. Maybe even a pass play or maybe even close to a touchdown. Like there's just not enough plays being called for Mixon where he could get into a rhythm. Texans can, in a way, slow the ball down because if you fail on first down, second down running, then fine, pass it or pass it second down or pass it first down and rush second and third or something like that just to bring some variety in their offense. And I feel like that's what the Texans are lacking. They're too predictable right now, and they have an amazing running back at their disposal. And I feel like they should be calling more plays from him. On the other side, the Detroit Lions, man, they're definitely the favorites in the NFC for sure. The Niners, they did lose Brandon Ayuk for the year, but he was struggling. They got back McCaffrey, so when McCaffrey's now gets into rhythm, there's conversations about them if they're healthy going into the playoffs because Purdy is going to get a massive contract extension no matter what after this season. It would be dumb for the Niners not to give him one. Let's all be honest. And I mean, he's silenced some doubters in my opinion because they've gone through so many injuries and he's proven he could pass the ball. I never understood why they were doubting him. And before these Jared Goff struggles, is it not the same story as to why Brock Purdy was being treated last year because people said it's Purdy's weapons. It's Purdy's weapons. Is it not the Lions' weapons? Like, no one's saying that because everyone's like, oh, Jared Goff could be the MVP, could be the MVP. There weren't conversations about Brock Purdy like that last year. It was always, he's a system quarterback. Then he led the league in air yards. He's still a system quarterback. And so they're just moving the goalposts and everything like that. But the Niners, if they're healthy, they gotta be considered. And I feel like the Eagles, they're playing really well right now. And I feel like, if we're being honest, I know the Chiefs are undefeated. I would still pick the Bills or Ravens to go to the Super Bowl. I know we do this every year, and it's the damn near every year at this point. The Chiefs prove us wrong. But I'm still going to be picking the Bills or Ravens to come out of the AFC against, and then it's going to be a toss-up between the Lions, assuming the Niners make it into the playoffs, and then, of course, the Eagles. But I feel like if the MVP wasn't really a quarterback award, Derrick Henry deserves consideration. Saquon Barkley deserves consideration. And now that could lead us to our next topic is the New York Giants, man. They chose to pay millions of dollars to Daniel Jones instead of Saquon Barkley because, okay, fine, if you want to value a quarterback, value the quarterback. But they made it to the playoffs that 1 year. I think most of it was due to Saquon Barkley. He was one of your only weapons on offense. The Darren Waller thing didn't work out because he chose music, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not sure what happened there. But then I feel like there's a lot of questionable decisions made through that front office. People want to trash Brian Dable. He's a great coach, just on the wrong team. So if any team is out there looking for a coach, Brian Dable, if he is fired, he still deserves to be a head coach. It's just not with the New York Giants, man. They're a dumpster fire. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I saw the Saquon season coming, but I knew he was going to be elite and make the Giants regret not signing him. And I saw an interview the other day of him saying he was playing on franchise tag, so he's financially secure now, so he can play freely, hurdling everyone. Play of the year probably, him and Garrett Wilson. That's honestly a toss-up in my opinion. But it's just crazy, man. Just crazy how the New York Giants front office continually fails their, honestly, fans and players as well. Because, I mean, Dexter Lawrence, man, he's so dominant this year. Like, I wish some of these players, obviously loyalty is a thing in sports. Obviously, I understand that. But I wish some of these elite players, like even Myles Garrett, weren't on these teams. And so I just feel like when that happens, I wish these players requested trades because it gets tough when you see them on continuously losing teams because the Browns obviously have questions at quarterback. And so once they get that figured out, but at the same time, it's how long do these players have left on these teams? How long are they going to be loyal for? And Max Crosby's another one. Many people thought he would be traded at the trade deadline. The Lions would be trading for Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, and obviously they traded for Zadarius Smith, and so the Lions, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure. But now, college football, let's start with Georgia. I feel like, obviously, people thought they'd do well, and then Ole Miss trounced them. They're probably, like, I don't know if they make it in the playoffs. I know AP has them at 11. It's just Carson Beck is just in a world of struggle right now. World of struggle. I'm pretty sure his recent games, he was like 5 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Like, that's just unacceptable. I know people say he's one of the better quarterbacks in the draft. Like, honestly, this is just hurting his draft stock at this point. And so I feel like you accept what's happening. Kirby Smart, I'm not sure who the quarterbacks are on their roster, but I'm not sure why he hasn't been benched yet. Because even though Georgia this year, they are 7-2, only 2 losses. But when you just look at their losses, it's just like, why hasn't Carson Beck been benched? And then Miami, they fall to Georgia Tech unexpectedly. And I'd be lying to you if I said I was shocked, because in some ways I expected it, because you look at most of their games that went down to the wire, they've sucked the first half and then somehow rediscovered new form in the second half. And Cam Ward has this ability to scramble, but then in a way throw ill-advised throwing it across your body and extend plays. But at some point, he doesn't know when to just simply throw the ball out of bounds, and it costing them this time because it was a game-winning fumble that sealed the deal for Georgia Tech, and Miami fall to 12. SMU football is now first in the ACC. Nick Saban called SMU's quarterback, Kevin Jennings, the most underrated player in college football, and he lit up Pitt after that. And so a lot of people are actually now predicting SMU to win the ACC. And as someone that goes there, I think that's true because our defense is elite, our offense is elite, and SMU could surprise a lot of people for sure because this year it's truly a wide open college football playoff race, and it's beautiful to see that it's a 12-team playoff now instead of 4 because of how wide open it is, in my opinion. But without further ado, more college football will be coming to this podcast, more football news, so make sure to tune in to my podcast daily for new sports content.